everybody. Today we are talking about informational interviews. What are they? How do you do them? And how can you get in on the Informational Interview Challenge?
Absolutely. I'm so excited. Let's dive in. Okay, so Meredith, what is an informational interview?
All right, so an informational interview is when you reach out to someone that interests you and ask to have a conversation where you're not expecting anything in exchange except for connection, knowledge, understanding their journey, how they got to where they're at, and understanding, do they have a need that I can help solve? Is there an opportunity here for me to help them out, right? That is the ultimate objective with these informational interviews, is where it's 90% asking questions, 10% listening. Wait, did I get that the wrong way? 90% listening, 10% talking. There we go. 10% talking. And it's really about, it's not just like a 50-50 conversation where you're getting coffee with a friend. It's like really going on a deeper level of investigating what does this organization possibly need.
Absolutely. It's approaching it from a place of curiosity, which I think is so refreshing and authentic. It just allows for really beautiful conversations. Okay, so why do we do them in the Grant Writing Unicorn Collective? Why is this so important to us?
Okay, so the reason we do them is that this is the lowest, how would you say this? It's like the least awkward way to find clients, to find job opportunities.
Right.
Most grant writers are decently introverted. So the idea of going to a conference, going to a networking event, right? Social media marketing yourself. Like if that sounds miserable to you, join the club, okay? That's awful. Whereas everyone can enjoy a meaningful, heart-led, one-on-one conversation. So how these informational interviews work, we teach this in the organic networking framework. It's fundamental to phase 1 in the collective, which is about, okay, how you want to build a contact list of organizations that you want to reach out to. And then you're going to reach out and say, hey, I am getting into grant writing, or I am interested in serving organizations like yours. I would love to have an informational interview. Just understand, do you have even a grant writing need? So would you add anything to what I'm already saying? Okay. Yeah.
No? Yeah.
Okay. So then the opportunity, the real fine art in it is being able to ask the right questions to uncover, do they have a plan for finding and focusing on the right grants? Do they have the skills for that? Do they have the capacity? And if they don't, that is an opportunity for you to position yourself as someone that can put together a funding strategy. Can you explain what a funding strategy is?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a roadmap of grants to pursue for the next 12 to 18 months. So when I talk to members in the collective, I sometimes put it into phrases that you might hear in an informational interview. So let's say you're talking to someone who runs an organization and they say, I hate that I'm always applying to grants at the last minute. It's such a headache. It's like I'm up till midnight the night before, and then sometimes, the website's down. I don't even get to submit it because we're always rushing, or any of those kinds of things. Those are pain points.
Yeah. And
so what a funding strategy can do is say, we're no longer chasing those last minute deadlines because we knew about that grant opportunity 12 months ago, and now we're planning for that because it's on our paper, it's on our roadmap. And that is so exciting. It's really exciting to organizations too, that like our members can help solve that problem.
Exactly. And the return there is a no-brainer. Your win rate goes up. You're building a relationship with your funders in advance. You have time to properly plan your project. And ultimately, you're pursuing less grants. You want to give the example of our one student in the program who did 50 grants? You want to share that?
Yeah, something insane. Was it 50 grants a year?
Yeah.
50 grants a year before she joined the collective, and her win rate was like close to zero. And she joined, and it took a couple of hard love conversations, but she changed her methodology. She went after the grants that they actually were eligible for, that they had a chance of winning. She planned it all in advance. This year, they are closing out the year with $200,000 in funding. Yep. She has won $200,000. Yesterday, she goes, first world problems, this is a good problem to have. Like, my hand is sore from writing recognition letters, right?
Yeah.
That is where we want that's the pain we want to be feeling.
Yep, totally. And she's doing this for a volunteer fire district in a small town that's super limited resources.
Yeah.
And she's completely transformed the impact that she's having.
Absolutely.
Right. So that's a tangent on the effectiveness of a funding strategy. Okay. But you get the idea. The other reason it's so important is that it instantly reduces the stress, the overwhelm, chasing grants haphazardly. And what's so cool about it, if you are new to grant writing or whatever, even if you're not new to it, is that it's not actually grant writing. A funding strategy is research and critical thinking.
Yeah.
And if you are listening to this podcast or YouTube video, like, you have those skills, okay? You have them. You can do that. This is nothing to do with being a certified grant writer, any of it. You need to understand how it works. You need to understand how to do it, but you can do it.
Yeah, you don't need a win rate to be able to, like, give them a document that tells them which grants to pursue.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so what's so beautiful is then that is your sort of foot in the door deliverable, where you're saying, okay, I see that you're struggling to focus on the right grants. I can put together a funding strategy for you, put before that organization a proposal saying, okay, for like $2,000, I can produce a funding strategy for you. You then are under contract, paid to do that work, execute that within 6 to 8 weeks, and you're getting paid, and bam-a-lam, you're moving forward. And what's super cool about it is that very often that funding strategy then leads to an amended contract where you are then being hired to implement it. So now you're being hired to go out and do the grant writing of the plan that you have already put together, that you have pre-vetted, that those are good grants and a good use of everyone's time.
Absolutely.
That's huge. And what's cool about it is that you don't have to have a lot or any experience, because you just built trust and rapport putting together the funding strategy.
Yeah, you know their organization now inside and out, because you had to know all of those details in order to find the right grant opportunities. They like you.
Exactly. Yeah. And so this all starts with utilizing this informational interview method, which is all part of what we call the organic networking framework. Okay, so what goes wrong? Where are people struggling? Because we have a lot of times during coaching calls, people will submit their recorded calls and we'll listen to them and we'll give them some feedback. So where are people getting stuck?
Well, before we get to the recorded calls, a big part of where people are getting stuck is actually sending out the emails or sending out an email to 5 organizations and not hearing back and getting scared, so not requesting any other informational interviews.
/ even doing a follow-up email.
Or sending a follow-up email. So before we even get to the interview, I think one of the biggest hurdles that our members are facing are even getting to the point where the interview is scheduled. Which is why, if you caught it, was one quick second when Meredith started, was we start with brainstorming a list of 20 organizations. We know that you're not going to get probably 20 interviews from 20 organizations. That's why we have to start big, so that we can have 5 to 10 meaningful conversations.
And being resilient is a big part of this.
Yeah.
I mean, this is about building your network. And I think sometimes we think that it's someone else's responsibility to see that I'm a hard worker. It's someone else's responsibility to give me an opportunity. Can't they see? I'll work hard. That is not how it works. If you want to have a career you love, you have to take ultimate radical responsibility. And taking radical responsibility means you are building your own network. And it's not about just, okay, am I going to get some client work out of this as a grant writer? This is building your network that will serve you for a lifetime, that is there to support you, and you're there to support them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did close to 45 informational interviews when I graduated college, trying to find a job, between, June and December. So probably like a 6-month window. I mean, I did and that was back before you did Zoom interviews. I was driving to these people's offices and going in and doing these meetings. It was a big time commitment. It was a big effort. And that's how I landed my grant writing job, freelancing grant writing job, and then a full-time job. And every opportunity that has been meaningful since, that I have every opportunity, has started with an informational interview. It works. It's something I freaking preach. Okay. So
let me back up and I'll ask you the question. So all of these students submit their audits and you go over them in their coaching calls, which is incredible. This is like one-on-one attention. and you get to audit it so that other students can learn from those informational interviews. So what is the hurdle once we get to the interviews?
Okay, there's two main mistakes that I see people make. Three. So number one is you have to remember that you are guiding the conversation. You are the leader. You have asked for this meeting. You are project running it. Okay? And where people get stuck is they yield that control, they yield that power because they perceive the person they're speaking with to have more of it.
Yes.
That's the problem. So you will learn, and this is something we show you, is how you actually establish your authority gently, respectfully, but in guiding the conversation. And people want to be guided through what to expect. So setting the expectation of this is my objective, this is what I'm hoping to accomplish. Are you good with that? Cool, let's go. Boom, hit your questions. Which leads me to mistake number 2, which is not having memorized your intro statement. So when I took a storytelling class, you would memorize the 7-minute story and tell it in front of a crowd. And we were told, don't memorize the story because that will come off as memorized. But memorize your first line and your last line by heart because you're going to have nerves.
Yeah.
And you're going to forget. So if you have those 2 parts, those bookends, memorized, you'll fill in the gaps and be fine. But you've got to know your beginning and your outro. The same goes in these informational interviews. Premeditate how you are going to introduce yourself and set up the expectation for the call. So an example would be, let's see. So, hi, Alex. Hey, thank you so much for the time. I am so excited to meet with you. So how I'm hoping to structure this call is only going to take about 30 minutes, but I'd like to ask you a bunch of questions as I'm looking to get into grant writing in the animal rescue industry. And my goal is to be only talking about 10%. I'm here to learn from you. So if that works with you, can I just dive right into my first question?
Absolutely.
Okay, so boom, hit it. That wasn't like stellar, okay, I just did that on the spot. But you get the idea that it's about, hey, can I do this? Cool, let's go. Like I'm guiding through what to expect. And it is important to have like a short little thing about who you are. Like, hi, I'm Meredith. So I'm in a rigorous grant writing training program. I've just got certified. I am now expanding to really start doing this work professionally. And so I am building my network in this arena. Thanks for taking the time to connect. Let's dive right into my questions. Does that work for you? Yes. Boom.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, do you see how by saying that she was in a rigorous grant writing program and she's looking to expand her network, right? You didn't have to introduce yourself as, I'm Alex and I have 17 million years of grant writing experience and I've won $75 million in funding, right? That it took that pressure away. You get to own your identity in that, and you can change your identity based off of
the journey.
The journey and the skills that you're bringing to the table. But if you are a beginner starting this, it's really cool to couch your identity in this rigorous program so that you can introduce yourself as someone with a lot of credibility without those other things that you think you need.
That you think you need. Exactly. That's exactly it. The other thing we're seeing people do effectively is take their other relevant experience and spin that up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've got a bunch of people that can say, look, I've been in the nonprofit world for 15 years. Sure, I wasn't grant writing for 15 years, but I have been in that space and I understand that industry. Yeah. So they can say and spin that into their quick 1 to 2 sentence intro statement. Right.
I've been in education. I've been a nurse. I'm making the transition to grants for healthcare,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's that. And then I'd say the third mistake, really probably the most important one, is you're not calculated and using precision in the questions that you ask. You allow the conversation to go to wherever that person that you're interviewing wants to talk to you about, but it's not uncovering pain points. It's not uncovering, do they actually need help with something I can help with? Yeah. And that is a technical skill. It's an important skill in life to have, to be able to ask good questions, to guide a conversation to a place of more meaning. Yeah. And it's hard. You're not supposed to just know how to do that right out of the gate. It took me years to learn how to do it, and I'm still working on it. So I think that kind of is a good segue too.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is the Informational Interview Challenge in January all about? Why are we doing this?
Absolutely. Okay. I'm not even sure how the idea came to be, except I just know that several of our students, our members in the program, were just feeling overwhelmed by the informational interview process. And I was like, you know what? You think it's easier for me, because I have this huge resume of experience as a grant writer. I will go in and do this with you blind. I will use my personal email. I'll make a fake Gmail. I could use a different name, to like Google me or something, right?
Right.
Like, I'm going to do this with you from the ground up, deploying the organic networking framework exactly as we teach it. And let's see how it goes. I'm going to record all my calls. I'm going to take like, this is what I did well. This is what I did bad. This is what, do differently. We're going to look at everything. Like, okay, how many of these calls did I have in total? I'm looking to have 10, basically, in the month of January. And how many of those did I convert, essentially, or identify an opportunity where they actually had a pain that I could solve and turn that into, okay, I'm going to send you over a contract for a funding strategy.
Yep.
Right? And I'm going to do that. I mean, it is going to be like a hyper-analyzed process, and we want you to do it with us.
Absolutely.
So 3-week challenge.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Join us.
Right? So first week will be building your contact list and sending out your emails.
Yep.
Requesting the interviews. Using Calendly links, like all of it. We break down every bit of the steps. Then week 2 and 3 are actually having those interviews.
Or sending your follow-up emails if your organization has not gotten back to you.
Yes, thank you for that. And then afterwards doing a bit of, what's the language you use? Post-mortem.
Yeah, exactly. Sounds dire.
Bad.
Yeah.
But it's looking at, especially that's the value of recording these. You capture so much more information, especially if it turns into a funding strategy contract. When you can go back and listen to the words they used, weaving that into your proposal, that proposal closes. You will get it signed.
Absolutely. I know if they say, I am so tired of searching grants haphazardly, or whatever language they use, you can then put that in your email or in your contract. This will alleviate chasing grants haphazardly. And then the person says, oh,
they understood.
I said that.
They listened to me. Yeah, because you are.
Yeah, yes,
exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we would love to have you if you're interested in this. Like, who is this for? I suppose would be a question we can zoom out on.
Sweet, yes.
Okay, so this is not something I want you to think about as, oh, this is something only relevant to me if I want to start a freelance grant writing business. Our methodology is all about everybody starts as a freelancer because everybody needs experience. And you use that experience once you hit the 15K mark, you've made $15,000 as a freelancer, to then decide, okay, am I going to go land a new job or am I going to keep building this consulting business? The contacts you build in this informational interview process, they reveal your opportunities with either path you take. So you're building your network of someone that now, 4 months from now, knows they want to hire a grant writer or knows someone that does, which is more common. They're usually just 1 degree separated. And they think of you because they interviewed you and you had spunk and fire and they want that in their organization. And they reach back out. So it's not something that always immediately flips into an opportunity, but I find it's the sweet spots month 4 to 6. Right? And so that is the whole point, is like, if you want a new job, if you want to just build your network to make sure you're connecting with amazing people, if you do want to freelance, so you have more flexibility in your life, you do want to do it as a side hustle, or maybe you want to do it full time. Like, it all starts with informational interviews. Doing them continuously. We still do them.
We still do them. And we also, this is the process that we teach for finding clients when you're not a beginner. So in phase 5 of the Grant Writing Unicorn Collective, we go into what does it look like to do informational interviews when you're past the 15K revenue
and you're leveling up.
And we will continuously talk about this as you advance in your freelance career. And so,
I mean, we should talk about the fact that we are doing informational interviews for a separate business idea that we have.
Absolutely. Like, we do
January.
Informational interviews all of the time.
Chronically.
We are talking to people and about multiple ideas.
Right, but is there a pain?
Exciting.
Is this something we can solve? Right? I mean, we're expanding your network of connection. Like, we're doing it all the time. And we're doing it for basically this sort of visionary integrator idea we have. We're going to do 20 of these interviews. We have someone at Babson College that's going to help us lead these. But it's all about just uncovering information. We don't have a predetermined objective. It's genuine curiosity.
Absolutely. Yes,
right?
100%.
Yeah. And then I think kind of the pro tip magic behind what we do is so we record those calls.
We transcribe.
Yeah, pro tip. Upload to temi.com, transcribe, put that all into a single Google Doc, highlight the language that's meaningful, study your own interview style, get to know how you could have done better, where you did well. That's how you get better faster.
Absolutely. So you can, and even if you're not grant writing, but you have a different idea, or you want to freelance as a different skill that you have right now, informational interviews can help you tremendously.
Yeah. They are something I'm absolutely fanatical about, to be entirely honest. Because I started doing them in college. I graduated in the economic recession. There were no job opportunities. I was literally applying for a pita-pit job, and I'm allergic to wheat. Like, that's how desperate I was. The informational interviews, they're the reason I'm a grant writer.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. So this charts your entire career path. I mean, it is just an adventure of a lifetime. All right, so I think we should talk about how do you get in on the challenge.
Yes. So join us. Join us by January 10th, and you can get in on the Informational Interview Challenge. You can sign up for the Grant Writing Unicorn Collective on our website. We can link you to our free training on how to build a career in grant writing, so you can get more information about the whole process. We'll talk about informational interviews again in that webinar, and then join us, and we'd love to have you as a part of this challenge.
Yeah, it's going to be super fun, especially because it's going to be live. The energy is going to be amazing. I think the timing is so cool.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
New, 2022.
Yep.
It's setting up your year. You're hitting it with fire. I just think it's going to set up so many of our members are going to crush their goals in 2022 by kicking it off with a strong informational interview.
I'm so excited.
Me too.
And they are excited because we've been talking about it
for a while
with our members, and they're like, yes. And I think they really just want to see Meredith
duke it out. Who wants some project work? So I'm like, if I close these, I don't want to do them.
Exactly. And we definitely will have some prizes for
we do.
Some of the we'll have
who
some
had
categories.
the most calls, I think. What are our categories?
Who had the most conversions,
who got the most contracts out of it.
And then I think the best one is what was the wildest conversation or the craziest conversation. You can submit kind of the weird things in a side note, and we'll go through and pick the weirdest ones and give you a prize for having to suffer through that weird.
I love it. We're all about celebrating wins every step of the way.
Absolutely, and some of those wins come in funny fashion.
They do. Cool. Well, thank you for this interview and kind of breaking it down. We would love to have you, and I think, is there anything else you want to add?
If you have any questions, you can always DM us on Instagram. We're there.
That's for sure.
Talk to us.
All right. See you later.
Bye.